What's up, guys? Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how slot wide receivers can run a 10-yard speed out versus press coverage or man coverage, okay? So now, as a slot wide receiver, what do they usually like to run a lot of when it comes to routes? They like to run a lot of outside breaking routes, so corners, out routes, anything where they have to come up to the top and maybe settle back to the outside. So a smart DB or a smart safety linebacker who's walked down in man coverage on you is going to be expecting that. Now, here's why. Like, usually if you got like one high safety, maybe it's like a cover one situation where it's man coverage across the board, but the defense has that one high safety in the middle. Out of the slot, you will see a lot of outside shade coverage or head up coverage. Reason for that is because they are expecting the outside route like we talked about, and they're fine with you running a post because your split's obviously cut down, you're out of the slot, so you're going to run right into that safety. So you guys have to know how to work these specific routes against outside shade coverage or against head up coverage. Now, the look we're looking at here is going to be head up press coverage. You could hardly even see this DB, and it's going to be a dive release, okay? So a dive release is one of the best releases you can use when you have to run that 10-yard out to move the DB off the platform, threaten him to the inside, and create some space back outside. So let's watch the thing full speed one more time. So with this dive release is the opposite of a diamond release. So if you're familiar with this page, you know a diamond release is something that you would use when you have to run a slant route, okay? So now he's coming off here, gives kind of like almost like a split release concept, and then he dives to the inside. So that dive right there across the DB's face, we are trying to sell drag, okay? So now, the dive is usually like, you could think of it as 3 steps or as 2 steps, depending on what you do right here. Sometimes I'll teach my receivers, we'll have this foot up and we will literally go straight across. You'll go left, break off the right foot, and then slip back to the outside. Or you could do a concept like this where you take 3 steps, where you go 1, where you kind of do this split release, maybe a little bit of a, like a foot fire release. You go right, left, right. But the one thing that remains consistent, whether it's 2 steps or whether it's 3 steps, is your hips and your shoulders are fully committed to a drag and you have speed to the drag. Now, we use this against a head-up DB because when he's head up, it's a lot harder to kind of and threaten him to the inside with like a regular move, like a 1-2 where you throw a jab to the inside. So I like this dive release because when he's in head-up press coverage, usually he's still responsible for you man-to-man, and he does not want to give up the inside route, but he's playing a head-up right in front of you, so this dive release is going to be a great way to move him off the platform. Now, I wouldn't necessarily use this against outside shade because if it's outside shade, there's just a little bit too much space between you two, right? But when he's head up like this, you could really threaten him on the dive because he's giving you the inside shade release, and that can move him off of that platform a little bit better than a regular double up, like I said. So that's why we use this dive release in this situation right here. Now, after we do this dive release, it is extremely important that we get back to my line, right? So what do I mean by the line? I mean like the literal straight line that you need to have on the route, how it's drawn up on a playbook, so you have the correct spacing on the route and you don't screw up the other routes that are throughout this play. Right? So how do we do that? We have to do something where we restack, called restacking. If you guys are not familiar with a restack, what a restack is essentially where you come off the line of scrimmage and you are working to get back over the top of this DB. So he is trailing your back hip. So you could throw something at the top of the route. You could work a little double move. You could work a peek back move. You could work something at the top of the break to be able to get you separation. Now, how do you effectively do that? Because the mistake that a lot of wide receivers will make is when they get to this point and they get that DB to move off the platform, is that they'll take it too wide and they stand up, they widen this thing out, and that DB's got time to recover. And since they widen it out, they don't get back on their line and they're up into the out route too quick, and the quarterback is not ready for them to be at the spot yet. So how do you effectively do that? How do you actually get back onto your line? Now, before we get into that, I want to talk to you guys about a great opportunity, fellas, that we have on our website for a complete off-season training schedule for wide receivers. If you would like a full 4-week-long wide receiver on-field workout schedule and a 4-week-long wide receiver gym workout schedule with all the exercises you need to be doing this off-season, broken down with sets, repetitions, check out that very first link in the description below, fellas, for our ultimate 4-week wide receiver training schedule. Everything you need to do, we break down all the on-field drills into a 30-minute long video explaining each drill and showing an example of each one. And then for both exercises on a daily basis, we go Monday, you do this exercise with this sets and reps. Tuesday, you're doing this. Wednesday, off day, conditioning day, whatever it is. So check out that very first link in the description below if something like that interests you, fellas. Now let's get back to this this video. So now, like I said, how do we get back over the top of this guy? How do I restack efficiently and get back to that straight line to get him to commit to the fade with me? And I have to make sure that I have a good pad level, especially being a slot wide receiver, especially being maybe a shorter guy. Your pad level is super important because when you run super tall, it's only going to do one of two things: make you more susceptible to a jam, or one of three things, I should say. Make you more susceptible to a jam when you're up tall and to get rerouted. You're not going to have as much speed, and you could drift off of the route. We do not want to do any of those three things. So when this receiver comes off of this dive release, he keeps such a great pad level. He is hip to hip with this DB, because when we're hip to hip and we're able to get back on this line, look what that does to his hips. That gets his hips to commit to the fade. He's thinking deep ball. He's thinking we went dive and we're just going to go fade right now. And we're able to break this thing right off, get down that 10-yard space, and you see the amount of separation we're able to gain. So as a slot wide receiver, that dive release is a great release to use when you're facing that head up press coverage and you have to run that 10-yard out. Now let's talk about the different situations you might get. So if this DB is way outside leverage, you would want to take the inside release. You'd want to set him up outside, give him a quick move, and take the inside release and work to either restack, or maybe if he plays it well, throw by at the top. Now, what if he's inside shade? If he's inside shade, you'd want to attack his leverage, try to move him, and then get back to that line just like we did and break this thing off right at the break point. So we got to make sure we have a plan. But when we face that head up coverage, this dive release is a great thing to use, because head up and outside shade are two of the most common coverages slot wide receivers will see when that DB has safety help to the inside. Let's watch it again full speed. Great job diving to the inside, pushing back up vertical in a good pad level so we don't drift, and we get to that landmark for my quarterback. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback, like I said, and it keeps the channel going. So if you guys have any kind of video suggestions, we always appreciate it. And again, fellas, if you'd like a full 4-week wide receiver training schedule with all the gym exercises and on-field drills you need to be doing, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.